Hello, my name is Dean Ramsden, and I am a therapeutic energy healer. In this, the first of two videos that's focused on the difference between profane space or ordinary space and consciousness, with sacred space, with non-ordinary consciousness. The source of this material comes from Romanian historian of religion, philosopher Mircea Eliade, a writer whose work has profoundly shaped the study of comparative religion, mythology, and even impacted depth psychology. Mircea Eliade is best known for his exploration of the nature of the religious experience, the concept of the sacred, and the role of myth in human culture. His seminal book, The Sacred and the Profane, written in 1957, argues that the religious experience is fundamentally different from the secular, from the ordinary. He describes in that book how humans perceive the sacred as a transcendent, eternal reality that breaks into the mundane world, often through rituals, symbols, or hierophanies, which are manifestations of the sacred. For Eliade, the sacred gives meaning and structure to human existence, in contrast with the profane, which is the ordinary, chaotic, and temporal experience that most of us experience in our everyday consciousness. Sacred space, in this view, is that which awakens or expands your consciousness beyond the normal everyday consciousness and allows you to get in touch with a greater universe, with a divine and spiritually guided universe, and it brings you into contact with your greater self, your expanded sense of self. Energy healing, especially the therapeutic process, is one way to learn how to navigate between profane or normal consciousness and an expanded sense of yourself, an expanded sense of the universe, the world around you. It does this by focusing on what appears to be a challenge in your life, something that is a health issue, something that is difficult to understand, to assimilate, or something in your life that's attracting a lot of attention, disturbing you, distracting you from what you want in your life. We can call this the problem, the issue, and that issue that we go to a healer for, be it physical, be it emotional or relational. We go to the healer to help sort it all out and perhaps get a different, better perspective on that issue, and to experience something that provides us with clarity, something that gives us a new set of resources. So a healing, an energy healing, starts with this issue, with this problem, as well as the goals that the client wants to attain. Now, while goals are important when working with a healer or a psychotherapist, often it is the unrevealed, the hidden aspects of your challenge that need to be brought out into the light, into your awareness, so that you can have all the pieces of your particular puzzle. You can't solve a puzzle unless you have all the pieces. You can't solve an equation unless you have all the variables. So going to a healer, or going to a psychotherapist, going to a counselor, or going to someone who is in some way a helping professional is a way for you to uncover all these different aspects of your challenge, of your issue, and from there enter into some form of sacred space, some form of non-ordinary consciousness, which will then give you, through an expansive sense of self, an opportunity to solve or deal with what is getting your attention. As an energy healer, my assumption is always that the client is hardwired for entering and leaving sacred space. In other words, it's built in to his or her consciousness. My job is to provide openings, provide energy gates, provide resources to help guide the client from profane into sacred space and back again. And while the client is in that sacred space, in that deeply relaxed, expansive place during a healing, that's when I can do my best work as a psychic healer to both assist the client as well as to clear away blockages that may be an issue. I've been trained, as many healers have, in different modalities, so my style is to jump around and apply the right style of healing, the right approach when necessary, between Qigong and westernized energy healing, along with some shamanic psycho-spiritual work. But my first job is first to gather information from the client, and this is done even prior to the first session, where he or she sends me information via email. And at that first email from a prospective client, the process begins. Now, it's not only a gathering of information, it's preparing a space for that client, if they're ready, to be able to enter from profane or normal consciousness into sacred space where the solutions, the clarifications that they need exist. So let's take the first session, which has two elements. The first being the profane, the ordinary, where we talk as human beings talk about their goals. We talk about personal history. We gather information. We decide between the two of us where to focus. Then, of course, there are aspects of education that I must tell the client how I work, what is possible, what are the implications of that work, what are the resources that can be made available to them. And once we have enough, usually 30 minutes is enough time, once we have enough information, enough education, I invite the client to lie down, to close his eyes, and relax deeply. I invite them to move into an inner, comfortable place right there in their home. Since I work long distance now, almost exclusively, it's easy for the client there in their home to relax, close their eyes. And as I work with them, I will tell them what I'm doing so that the energy healing is recorded and can later be replayed. Now this gives the client the opportunity to revisit the healing, to experience it again, second, third, or more times, not only to deepen the original healing, but to learn how to enter sacred space by themselves again and again. It's training them to gain confidence, to gain a certain personal power, that the client can open themselves up to greater forces and then return to the profane, the ordinary space with new resources, new insights. Now this process is a very personal one, depending on both the personality of the client and the issue itself. Sometimes one healing will be enough to set the stage for the client to work with that one healing for several weeks. Other clients like a more intensive approach. They'll work through several healings, perhaps spaced out every week, where each healing, like a pyramid, builds on the piece below it, giving the client a much broader perspective on their healing process. So I leave this to the client to decide what works best for him or her, and of course there are always budget issues that need to be taken into account. And if the client wants a sequential set of healings, I call this the 6-session series, where weekly for 6 weeks, one healing per main chakra, looking at the issue, guiding the client from ordinary consciousness into sacred space, into an expanded sense of self. And then the energy work that I can do at a distance is offered as a resource, as a clearing of the past, or helps them focus on hidden aspects, hidden parts of the puzzle we were talking about earlier. Moving in and out of sacred space, cycling back and forth, stimulates our personal process, gives us momentum to move out of habitual states of consciousness, out of ordinary consciousness, into activating resources, into clearing blockages, into depriving old habits of their power over us, along with engaging new resources. We strengthen our ability to have agency in our life, to be less passive in the face of trauma or the past. And that's what moving in and out of sacred space does. It activates not only clarity of the issues involved, but it strengthens the perspective of the client and allows them to make the right choices for themselves. Energy healing is a supportive structure to guide us, all of us, in and out of sacred space, getting what we need, often being gifted with what we need unexpectedly, and digesting it back from sacred space into regular reality. Now in the next video, we will look at the next level of this information. We will look at gates, because the way to move from one reality to another is through a gate, through an opening that is available for us to enter and then return back to normal reality. So thanks for listening, and bye for now.